The gentle morning sunlight was just beginning to warm the city streets as Maya positioned herself at her usual spot near the busy intersection. Her fingers clutched an old guitar, its wood worn smooth from years of use. Beside her, tucked safely in a weathered stroller, her 4-year-old daughter Lily slept peacefully, wrapped in their warmest blanket, a soft blue one that still smelled like their old home. Maya's eyes lingered on her daughter's peaceful face, drawing strength from the innocent trust she saw there. Their world had shrunk to fit into 2 backpacks, some clothes, a few treasured books for Lily, and the basic necessities they could carry. But Maya had something that couldn't be packed away: her voice, a gift from her grandmother who had taught her to sing in their tiny kitchen many years ago. Every morning, the same routine unfolded. Maya would gently wake Lily with a soft song, share their morning meal of whatever they could afford from the nearby convenience store, and then make their way to this corner. The spot was strategic, busy enough to attract potential listeners, but calm enough that Lily could play safely with her 2 remaining toys, a worn teddy bear and a small toy car. Life hadn't always been this way. Just 8 months ago, they had a cozy 1-bedroom apartment where Lily had her own reading corner with twinkling lights. Maya had worked as a waitress at a local diner, taking extra shifts whenever possible. But when the diner closed down unexpectedly, everything unraveled faster than she could have imagined. The savings disappeared quickly, and soon they found themselves joining the invisible crowd of people who called the streets their home. Yet Maya was determined to keep their dignity intact. She kept Lily as clean as possible, using bathroom sinks in friendly shops to wash up. They spent their afternoons in the public library, where Lily could read picture books and Maya could search for job listings on the computers. But finding work was hard when you didn't have a permanent address, and each rejection weighed heavily on her heart. Still, Maya never let Lily see her tears. Instead, she transformed their struggles into songs. She sang everything from old folk tunes to popular hits, her voice carrying stories of hope and resilience across the busy street. Some days were better than others. A kind food truck owner would sometimes give them leftover sandwiches, and occasionally, a generous passerby would leave enough money for them to spend a night in a cheap motel during particularly cold weather. Between songs, Maya would teach Lily simple math using pebbles found on the street, or they would make up stories about the clouds floating above. She was determined that her daughter wouldn't fall behind just because they had fallen on hard times. Every night, whether they were huddled in a shelter or tucked away in a quiet corner of the park, Maya would whisper stories of a better tomorrow into Lily's ear. Today felt different somehow. Maya had woken up with an unusual feeling of hope, though she couldn't explain why. As she tuned her guitar, checking each string carefully, she watched the morning crowd hurrying past. Business people clutching coffee cups, students with heavy backpacks, shop owners lifting their shutters. Each person carried their own story, their own dreams and struggles. A group of pigeons landed nearby, and Lily stirred in her sleep, her small hand clutching her teddy bear tighter. Maya smiled, remembering how her daughter had named each pigeon that visited them regularly. "Mr. Spots," she would say, pointing to one with distinctive gray markings, "is the daddy pigeon. He's looking for breakfast for his babies." Even in their hardest moments, Lily found ways to spread joy. Maya began to strum her guitar, her fingers finding the familiar chords automatically. Her voice, though tired from the cold night air, still carried a warmth that made people pause in their rushed morning routines. She sang about hope, about love, about better days ahead, not just for herself and Lily, but for anyone who needed to hear it. Maybe that's why people often stopped to listen. In her voice, they heard their own stories of struggle and resilience. As the morning traffic began to build, Maya's voice rose above the city noise, carrying with it the dreams of a mother who refused to give up. She didn't know it yet, but this ordinary morning would soon turn into something extraordinary, a moment that would change everything. But for now, she sang, her voice a beacon of hope in the urban wilderness, while her daughter slept peacefully beside her, unaware that their lives were about to take an unexpected turn. The afternoon air had turned bitter cold, sending sharp gusts of wind down the city streets. Maya pulled Lily's blanket tighter, tucking it carefully around her daughter's small shoulders. The temperature had dropped suddenly, catching many people off guard, and the normally busy sidewalk had thinned as people hurried to find warmth indoors. Lily looked up at her mother with those big brown eyes that could melt any heart. "I'm cold, Mama," she whispered, her little hands rubbing together. Maya's heart ached, the kind of deep ache that only a parent can understand when they can't give their child everything they need. But Maya knew she could give her daughter something else, something that had always brought them comfort in their hardest moments. "Want to sing our special song together, sweetheart?" Maya asked, pulling her old guitar closer. Lily's face lit up instantly, the cold temporarily forgotten. This was their ritual, their special moment that made even the darkest days brighter. Maya began strumming the familiar chords of "You Are My Sunshine," her fingers moving with practiced ease despite the cold. As Maya's voice carried the first notes into the chilly air, memories flooded back. She remembered her own mother singing this very song in their tiny kitchen, the smell of fresh bread filling the air. Her mother had always said that music could heal any wound, warm any heart, and bridge any distance. Now, years later, Maya was passing this same comfort to her own daughter. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine," Maya sang, her voice clear and pure despite their circumstances. Lily joined in, her small voice matching her mother's with the innocent joy that only children possess. "You make me happy when skies are gray." Their voices blended together, creating a moment of perfect harmony that seemed to push back against the cold wind. People passing by began to slow their hurried pace. A businessman tucked his phone into his pocket, pausing to listen. An elderly woman smiled, swaying gently to the melody. Even a group of teenagers removed their headphones, drawn in by the authentic emotion in Maya's voice. There was something about the way she sang, as if each word carried not just a melody, but a story, a hope, a prayer. The song took on new meaning as Maya sang it here on the street corner. Each word felt heavier, more significant. "You'll never know, dear, how much I love you." Her voice cracked slightly with emotion, but she kept singing, pouring all her love and dreams for Lily into each note. This wasn't just a song anymore. It was a promise, a declaration of unconditional love, despite their circumstances. As they reached the final verse, a sleek black car slowed to a stop near their corner. Maya barely noticed it at first, lost in the music and the moment with her daughter. The tinted window rolled down smoothly, but unlike the usual quick handout of spare change, this car lingered. Inside sat a woman in her early 40s, her expression one of complete attention. The woman's eyes were fixed on Maya, but not with the usual pity they often received. Instead, there was something else in her gaze, recognition, perhaps. Understanding? She switched off her car engine, something no one had ever done before, and continued to listen until the final note faded into the cold air. Lily clapped her small hands as they finished, proud of their performance as always. The woman in the car joined in the applause, her expensive bracelet catching the winter sunlight. Maya gave a small, grateful nod, expecting the car to pull away like all the others, but it didn't. Instead, the woman stepped out of her car, elegant despite the cold wind that whipped at her coat. She introduced herself as Diana, a music producer who had been in the industry for 20 years. But it wasn't her credentials that caught Maya's attention, it was the warmth in her eyes, the genuine interest in her voice. "That song," Diana said, her voice soft but clear, "I haven't heard it sung like that in years. Not since," she paused, collecting herself, "not since my grandmother used to sing it to me." The connection was instant, transcending the obvious differences in their circumstances. In that moment, they weren't a homeless singer and a successful producer. They were simply two people connected by the universal language of music. As the cold wind continued to blow around them, Diana took a step closer, her eyes moving between Maya and Lily. There was something in her expression that suggested this wasn't just another passing moment of kindness. This was something more. A turning point, though none of them knew it yet. The city continued its usual rhythm around them, but on that cold afternoon, 3 lives paused at a crossroads. The simple lullaby that had carried Maya through her darkest moments was about to open a door she never expected, proving that sometimes the most powerful changes come from the most genuine moments. Time seemed to stand still on that busy street corner as Diana stood before Maya and Lily, her presence creating a small bubble of calm in the urban chaos. The contrast between them was stark, Diana in her tailored wool coat and Maya in her weathered jacket, but there was something in Diana's eyes that made Maya feel seen, truly seen, for the first time in months. "Would you mind telling me your story?" Diana asked, her voice gentle but direct. She gestured to a nearby coffee shop. Maybe we could talk somewhere warmer. The offer was tempting, especially with the bitter wind still cutting through their clothes, but Maya hesitated. Experience had taught her to be cautious, even of seemingly kind strangers. Lily solved the dilemma in her innocent way. "Mama, my toes are cold," she whispered, though loud enough for Diana to hear. A mother's instinct to protect warred with the need to provide warmth for her child. Diana seemed to understand the internal struggle playing across Maya's face. "The cafe has the best hot chocolate in the city," Diana said, directing her words to Lily but giving Maya an understanding look. "And we can sit right by the window, where everyone can see us." It was this last part, this acknowledgement of Maya's need for safety, that helped make the decision. Inside the cafe, warmth wrapped around them like a blanket. The barista smiled kindly, used to Diana's frequent visits, and soon they were settled in a cozy corner with steaming drinks. Lily's eyes went wide at the mountain of whipped cream on her hot chocolate, complete with a sprinkle of cinnamon on top. "Take small sips, sweetheart," Maya reminded gently, watching her daughter's delight with a mixture of joy and sadness. Such simple pleasures had become rare luxuries in their life. Diana observed their interaction, her expression thoughtful but not pitying. "Your voice," Diana began, warming her hands around her coffee cup, "it has something special, something real. In my industry, we hear hundreds of talented singers, but authenticity, that's rare." She paused, letting Maya take in her words. "Would you feel comfortable sharing how you and Lily ended up here?" Maybe it was the warmth of the cafe, or Lily's contentment as she carefully sipped her hot chocolate, or perhaps just the weight of carrying their story alone for so long, but Maya found herself talking. She told Diana about the diner where she'd worked for 3 years, about her regular customers who'd become like family, about the owner's tearful announcement that they were closing. "I thought I'd find another job quickly," Maya explained, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup. "I had savings, but in this city," she didn't need to finish the thought. Diana nodded, understanding how quickly things could unravel in a place where rent costs more than most people's monthly salary. "But you kept singing," Diana observed, watching as Lily drew pictures on a napkin with a crayon the waitress had brought her. "Music was my mother's gift to me," Maya said softly. "She always said that when words fail, melody speaks. Even on our hardest days, I wanted Lily to have that, something beautiful, something that couldn't be taken away." Diana leaned forward slightly, her coffee forgotten. "Your mother taught you well." "That's exactly what I heard in your voice out there, not just talent but soul, real emotion. Stories lived, not just sung." She reached into her bag, pulling out a business card. "I'd like to offer you an opportunity, but I want to be clear about what it is and isn't." The next few minutes were surreal as Diana explained her role as a music producer at Horizon Records. She talked about artists she'd worked with, about the kind of music they produced, about her belief in authentic voices telling real stories. But more importantly, she talked about the process, about how it would start with a simple audition, no strings attached. "I can't promise anything beyond a fair chance," Diana said honestly. "But what I heard today, that's something special. Something that deserves to be heard." Lily, who had been quietly drawing, suddenly held up her napkin artwork. It showed 3 stick figures holding hands, one tall with curly hair like Diana's, one with a guitar like Maya's, and one small figure with a big smile like Lily's. The simple drawing brought tears to Maya's eyes. "Even if nothing comes from the audition," Diana continued, watching Lily proudly show her drawing to the friendly waitress, "I want to help you find a safe place to stay tonight. No conditions, no obligations. Just a warm bed and a chance to rest properly." Maya felt emotions welling up in her throat, gratitude, hope, fear, all mixed together. But looking at Lily's happy face, watching her daughter experience simple joys that should be part of every child's life, she knew she had to take this chance. "When my mother passed away," Maya said finally, her voice steady despite her emotions, "she told me to never stop singing, because music has a way of opening doors we didn't even know existed." She looked at Diana, then at Lily, and took a deep breath. I think maybe she was right. As they finished their drinks and prepared to leave the cafe's warmth, Maya felt something she hadn't experienced in months, the weight of possibility. Whether this led to a music career or simply a step towards stability, this unexpected encounter had already given them something priceless: hope. The hotel room door clicked shut behind them, and for a moment, Maya and Lily just stood there, taking in the sight. After months of sleeping in shelters and occasionally on night buses, the simple hotel room felt like a palace. 2 pristine beds with fluffy white pillows, thick curtains, and most importantly, warmth. "Mama, look at the TV," Lily whispered in awe, pointing at the flat screen mounted on the wall. Her eyes were wide with wonder, reminding Maya of how many simple things her daughter had gone without. "And there's a bathtub." Her small feet patted excitedly across the carpeted floor to the bathroom. Diana had arranged everything before saying goodbye at the cafe, handling the check-in details so Maya wouldn't feel uncomfortable at the front desk. "Get some rest," she'd said, pressing a small envelope into Maya's hands. "There's enough here for dinner and breakfast. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., my driver will pick you up for the studio." Now, watching Lily bounce experimentally on the bed, Maya opened the envelope. Besides the money for meals, she found a handwritten note. "Music saved me once too. Get a good night's sleep. Tomorrow is just about sharing your story through song. Diana." "Can't we take a bath, Mama?" Lily called from the bathroom. A real bath with bubbles. The hotel had provided small bottles of toiletries, including bubble bath. Maya felt tears welling up, but blinked them away quickly. This wasn't a time for crying. This was a time for enjoying these precious moments with her daughter. "Of course," we thought. "Let's make it extra bubbly." Maya ran the warm water, adding the bubble bath as Lily watched in fascination. Soon, the bathroom filled with the sweet scent of lavender, and Lily's giggles echoed off the tiles as she played with the bubbles, making herself a bubble beard and crown. After the bath, wrapped in fluffy white towels, they ordered dinner from a nearby diner, simple hamburgers and fries that felt like a feast. They ate sitting cross-legged on one of the beds, watching cartoons on TV, something they hadn't done since leaving their apartment. Lily's eyes grew heavy even as she tried to stay awake to watch more. "Time for bed, little one," Maya said softly, helping Lily into the clean pajamas Diana had thoughtfully included in a small shopping bag she'd given them. The clothes still had their tags on, another luxury they hadn't known in months. "Will you sing to me, Mama?" Lily asked, already curled up under the crisp white sheets. "The special song?" Maya smiled, sitting on the edge of the bed. Their special song, the one that had brought them to this moment. As Maya sang "You Are My Sunshine," her voice was different somehow. The same notes, the same words, but now they carried something new: hope. Lily fell asleep quickly, one hand clutching her teddy bear, the other holding onto Maya's finger. Once Lily was asleep, Maya stood by the window, looking out at the city lights. Tomorrow, she would sing at a real recording studio. The thought sent butterflies through her stomach. What if her voice wasn't good enough? What if she forgot the words? What if this was all just a beautiful dream? She pulled out her old guitar from its weathered case. The instrument had been her constant companion through everything, and now its familiar weight in her hands helped calm her nerves. Sitting in the cushioned chair by the window, she began to practice quietly, her fingers finding the chords automatically. As she played, Maya thought about her mother, wondering what she would say about this moment. She'd always told Maya that music was like a river. It might take unexpected turns, but it would always find its way to where it needed to go. Maybe this was where her river was leading her. Hours passed as Maya practiced, trying different songs, adjusting her voice, remembering all the music she'd loved before life had gotten so hard. She only stopped when she noticed the sky beginning to lighten, the first hint of dawn peeking between the city buildings. Looking at her sleeping daughter, peaceful and warm in a real bed, Maya felt a surge of determination. This wasn't just about music anymore. This was about giving Lily the life she deserved, about showing her that dreams don't die even when times get tough. Maya finally lay down on the other bed, her guitar carefully placed beside her. The sheets were cool and clean, the pillow soft under her head. As sleep began to overtake her, she heard her mother's words in her mind. Music has a way of opening doors we didn't even know existed. In just a few hours, she would walk through one of those doors. Whether it led to a recording contract or simply a step toward a better life, Maya knew one thing for certain: she would sing her heart out, not just for herself, but for Lily, for her mother's memory, and for anyone who had ever held on to hope when that was all they had left. The city outside was beginning to wake up, but for now, in this peaceful room, Maya and Lily slept soundly, their dreams for once as soft and warm as the beds they lay in. Tomorrow would bring what it would bring, but this moment, this was already more than Maya had dared to hope for in a very long time. The morning sun cast long shadows across the sidewalk as Maya and Lily stepped out of the hotel, both wearing clean clothes provided by Diana. A sleek black car was already waiting, just as promised. The driver, an elderly man with kind eyes, held the door open with a warm smile. "Good morning, ladies. I'm Pete. Ready for your big day?" Lily bounced excitedly into the car, but Maya paused, clutching her guitar case. The weight of the moment hit her. This wasn't just another day singing on the street. This was a real chance, perhaps their only one. Pete seemed to sense her nervousness. "You know," he said quietly, "I've been driving for Horizon Records for 20 years. The ones who are nervous usually have something special to share." The drive to the studio felt both too long and too short. Lily pressed her face against the window, pointing out every interesting thing she saw, while Maya tried to calm her racing heart. She'd spent hours practicing last night, but now all the songs seemed to jumble in her head. The studio building wasn't what Maya expected. Instead of a towering skyscraper, it was a converted warehouse with brick walls and large windows. Inside, the reception area felt warm and inviting, with vintage music posters and comfortable leather chairs. Diana was already waiting for them. "You made it," Diana smiled, giving Lily a little wave. "Ready to make some music?" She led them through the building, pointing out different recording rooms where musicians were working. Lily watched everything with wide-eyed wonder, especially when they passed a room with a grand piano. They stopped at a cozy room with wooden walls and soft lighting. "This is our workshop space," Diana explained. "It's where we like to start, just simple, honest music without all the fancy equipment." The room held a few chairs, some instruments, and basic recording equipment. Most importantly, it felt peaceful, almost like a home. "Can I draw while Mama sings?" Lily asked, already pulling out the notepad and colored pencils Diana had given her yesterday. Diana set her up at a small table in the corner, making sure she was comfortable before turning back to Maya. "Before we start," Diana said, gesturing for Maya to sit, "I want you to know something. This isn't American Idol. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for truth in music. Just share your story the way you did yesterday." She paused, watching Maya take out her guitar. "What would you like to sing first?" Maya's fingers found the strings of her guitar, the familiar touch calming her nerves. "I have a song. I wrote it during our first week on the streets. I've never performed it for anyone except Lily." She glanced at her daughter, who looked up from her drawing with an encouraging smile. The song started softly, Maya's voice barely above a whisper. It told the story of their first night without a home, how they'd watched the sunset from a park bench, how Lily had counted stars to fall asleep. As she sang, Maya forgot about being in a recording studio. She forgot about Diana and the opportunity. She was just a mother sharing her truth through music. Halfway through the song, the door quietly opened. 2 more people slipped in. A man with gray hair and glasses, and a younger woman with a notebook. They sat silently listening. Maya kept singing, her voice growing stronger as she reached the chorus about finding hope in the smallest moments. When the last note faded, the room stayed quiet for a moment. Lily broke the silence with applause, running to hug her mother. Maya noticed tears in Diana's eyes, and the woman with the notebook was writing furiously. "That," the gray-haired man said, standing up, "is what we've been looking for." He introduced himself as Richard, the head of the label. Music that makes people feel something real. Music that tells stories that need to be told. The next hour passed in a blur. Maya sang more songs, some she'd written, some covers she'd performed on the streets. Each one seemed to touch something in her audience. Even the sound engineer poked his head in to listen. "Your voice has something special," the woman with the notebook said. She introduced herself as Anna, the creative director. "It's not just talent, it's experience, truth, raw emotion. We can't teach that." Diana leaned forward in her chair. "Maya, we'd like to offer you a development deal. It means we'll work with you, help you develop your songwriting, create an EP. It's not a guarantee of stardom, but it's a real chance to share your music with the world. Maya felt her hands trembling. But what about Lily? I can't leave her alone while I record. We have a daycare center right here in the building, Diana smiled. Many of our artists are parents. We understand that music and family go hand in hand. Lily, who had been quietly drawing, suddenly held up a picture. It showed Maya on a stage, singing to a crowd of people, with Lily watching from the side. At the top, in wobbly letters, she'd written My Mama's songs. Looking at the drawing, then at the kind faces around her, Maya felt tears sliding down her cheeks. These weren't tears of sadness or fear. They were tears of hope, of gratitude, of possibilities she'd thought were lost forever. Yes, she whispered, then stronger, yes. We'd like to try. Lily ran to her for another hug, and Diana beamed. The morning sun streamed through the windows, warming the room, and for the first time in months, Maya felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. The small apartment wasn't much, just one bedroom with a tiny kitchen and a living room that could barely fit a couch, but to Maya and Lily, it was paradise. The advance from Horizon Records had allowed them to sign a 6-month lease, and now they stood in their new home, still unable to believe it was real. Look, Mama. Lily called out, running from room to room. We have our own bathroom and a real kitchen. Her excitement was contagious, and Maya found herself smiling as she watched her daughter explore every corner of their new space. The landlady, a grandmotherly woman named Mrs. Chen, had even left them a small potted plant as a welcome gift. Their first night in the apartment, they sat on the floor eating takeout noodles since they didn't have any furniture yet. But it didn't matter. They were home. Lily had made a fort out of the few blankets Diana had helped them buy, and they pretended they were camping under the stars, just like they used to do in the park, but this time by choice, not necessity. The next few weeks passed in a whirlwind of activity. Every morning, Maya would drop Lily off at the studio's daycare center, where she quickly made friends with other musicians' children. While Lily learned and played, Maya worked with vocal coaches, songwriters, and producers, all helping her refine her natural talent. Your voice has such raw emotion, her vocal coach, an older woman named Rose, told her during one session. We don't want to polish that away. We just want to give you the tools to make it even stronger. Rose became more than just a teacher. She became a mentor, someone who understood that Maya's music came from a place of real experience. The studio became their second home. The sound engineers would slip Lily candy when they thought Maya wasn't looking. The receptionist kept a special drawer of coloring books just for her. Even Richard, the label head, would stop to listen to Lily's stories about her day at the daycare. One afternoon, as Maya was recording You Are My Sunshine for her EP, something magical happened. The producer suggested trying a version where Lily sang along on the chorus. They set up a small microphone for her, adjusted it to her height, and put tiny headphones on her ears. The joy in Lily's voice as she sang with her mother brought tears to everyone's eyes in the control room. That recording became Maya's first single. The song's release was small, just on local radio stations and streaming platforms at first. But there was something about the authenticity of their voices together, the real love between mother and daughter, that touched people's hearts. A local news station picked up their story. The reporter was touched by how Maya had kept singing, kept hoping, even in their darkest times. Music was our lighthouse, Maya told her during the interview. Even when we had nothing else, we had our songs. Social media started buzzing about the mother-daughter sunshine song, as people called it. Videos appeared of parents singing it with their children. Teachers used it in music classes. Something about their story, their journey from the streets to the studio, resonated with people in a way no one had expected. The money from the song's success, though modest, helped Maya furnish their apartment bit by bit. They'd found a comfortable second-hand couch, a small dining table, and most importantly, a proper bed for Lily with twinkling lights above it, just like she used to have. Each new addition made their apartment feel more like the home they'd dreamed of during those long nights on the streets. But success didn't change who they were. Maya still took Lily to the park where they used to spend their days. They'd sit on their old favorite bench, now bringing sandwiches and snacks to share with other homeless families they saw. Remember to be kind, Maya would tell Lily. We know better than anyone how much a small kindness can mean. One evening, as they sat on their small balcony watching the sunset, Lily asked, "Are we rich now, Mama?" Maya pulled her daughter close, thinking about how to answer. They weren't rich in money. The EP was just beginning to earn them a modest living. But they had a home, food in the fridge, and most importantly, they had hope. "We're rich in the ways that matter most," Maya answered, kissing the top of Lily's head. "We have music, we have each other, and we have a chance to help others the way Deanna helped us." That night, as Maya tucked Lily into bed, she noticed something her daughter had drawn and taped to the wall. It was a picture of their old street corner, but with a twist. In the drawing, there was a rainbow above it and musical notes floating in the air. At the bottom, Lily had written in her improving handwriting, "Where our dream started." Maya touched the drawing gently, remembering those difficult days that now felt both so close and so far away. Tomorrow, she would go back to the studio to continue working on her EP. But tonight, she would sing her daughter to sleep in their own home, grateful for every small step that had led them here, and hopeful for all the steps still to come. The community center buzzed with excitement as people filled every available seat. 1 year had passed since that fateful day when Diana's car had stopped at Maya's street corner. Now, Maya stood backstage, peeking through the curtain at the gathering crowd. This wasn't just another performance. This was her first benefit concert for homeless families. Lily, now in kindergarten and missing her front tooth, sat in the front row between Diana and Mrs. Chen. She wore her favorite blue dress and clutched a small bouquet of flowers she picked herself from their apartment's window box. The sight gave Maya strength, reminding her of how far they'd come. The past year had been a whirlwind of changes. Her EP, titled Street Corner Lullabies, had touched more hearts than anyone expected. The songs weren't complicated, just honest stories about hope, survival, and a mother's love. But sometimes the simplest truths resonate the most deeply. 5 minutes, Maya, whispered Pete, who had insisted on being her driver for every performance, big or small. He'd become like a grandfather to Lily, always carrying candy in his pockets and teaching her silly jokes. The entire Horizon Records team had become their extended family, supporting them in ways that went far beyond music. As Maya waited for her cue, she thought about all the families out there who were where she and Lily had been a year ago. The benefit concert wasn't just about raising money. It was about raising awareness, about showing people that homelessness could happen to anyone and that everyone deserved a chance to be heard. The lights dimmed, and Richard stepped onto the stage to introduce her. "Sometimes," he said into the microphone, "the most powerful voices come from the most unexpected places." Today's performer reminded us that music isn't just about entertainment, it's about truth, hope, and the courage to keep singing even when times are hard. Maya walked onto the stage, her guitar in hand. The spotlight felt warm on her face as she sat on the wooden stool. "A year ago," she began, her voice steady and clear, "I was singing on a street corner, trying to earn enough for my daughter's next meal. Today, I'm here to share not just my music, but a message. Hope can be found in the darkest places, and sometimes it just takes one person to believe in you." She started with "You Are My Sunshine," the song that had changed everything. But this time she wasn't alone. Lily ran up to join her, just as they planned, their voices blending together just like on the recording that had touched so many hearts. The audience smiled, some wiping away tears, as mother and daughter sang their story. Between songs, Maya shared snippets of their journey, sleeping in shelters, counting coins for food, but always finding comfort in music. She didn't sugarcoat the reality of homelessness, but she wove hope through every story. In the audience, she could see people nodding, understanding, some perhaps remembering their own struggles. The concert raised more money than anyone expected, enough to help several families transition from the streets to stable housing. But more importantly, it started conversations. Local business owners approached Maya afterward, offering job opportunities for homeless parents. A real estate developer pledged to set aside affordable units in his new building. Small changes, perhaps, but meaningful ones. After the concert, Maya hosted a small workshop for other struggling musicians, sharing what she'd learned about both music and survival. "Your story matters," she told them. "Your voice matters. Don't let anyone tell you differently." She thought about Diana saying similar words to her a year ago and how those words had given her the courage to try. That evening, Maya and Lily walked back to their old street corner. They'd made this pilgrimage every month since moving into their apartment, but today felt special. They sat on the familiar bench, sharing a bag of breadcrumbs with the pigeons, including Mr. Spots, who somehow was still around. "Do you miss it here, Mama?" Lily asked, tossing crumbs to her feathered friends. Maya looked around at the place where they'd spent so many difficult days. "I miss some things," she said honestly. "I miss how the sunrise looked between those buildings. I miss some of the kind people who used to stop and talk with us. But mostly, I'm grateful. This corner taught us that home isn't just a place, it's wherever we're together, making music and sharing love." As if on cue, a young woman walked by, pushing a stroller with a sleeping toddler. Maya recognized the look in her eyes, the same look she'd had a year ago. Without hesitation, she pulled out one of the resourced cards from the benefit concert and approached her. "Sometimes," Maya said gently, offering the card, "life takes unexpected turns. But there are people who want to help." She added her own phone number on the back, remembering how much it had meant to have someone believe in her. The woman took the card with trembling hands, tears welling in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. I used to sing too before." Maya smiled, understanding perfectly. "Maybe we could sing together sometime," she suggested. Music has a way of opening doors we didn't even know existed. Walking home that evening, holding Lily's hand, Maya felt the full circle of their journey. They'd gone from needing help to being able to offer it, from singing for survival to singing for change. The street corner would always be part of their story, but now it was a beginning rather than an end. That night, as Maya tucked Lily into bed, her daughter asked, "Can't we help more people, Mama? Like Diana helped us?" Maya kissed her forehead, heart swelling with pride at her daughter's compassion. "Yes, sweetheart, that's exactly what we'll do. One song, one story, one person at a time."